You want to know how fast your life can turn upside down? Try rolling into your family's old lake cabin after 6 months of missing your girl, expecting a peaceful weekend, and within minutes you're staring down cop car headlights because the HOA president, this lady Karen on steroids, calls 911 screaming about armed trespassers. I kid you not. The woods around Mirror Lake looked like the set of an action flick, red and blue lights flashing through the trees, and there I am clutching the brass key my dad gave me, wondering if this was all some twisted dream. See, that place, our cabin, was more than just an old getaway for fishing and card games. My dad, Judge Thorne, used to wake me up at dawn every weekend, coffee and bacon already filling the air, and we'd wander down to the dock, him teaching me about patience, about reading the water, about doing what's right, even when no one's there to see it. That cabin was 3 generations of memories built by my great-granddad in the middle of the Depression, updated over the years until Dad turned it into a little fortress, solar panels, security cameras, even an electronic lock he swore was overkill. I always laughed at his trust no one attitude. That morning I realized he might have been on to something. So there we are, Elena and me, just soaking it all in, the cedar and leather and the ghosts of all those good Sundays, when this woman struts up the porch like she's about to fire half the staff. Priscilla Blackwood's silver hair pulled so tight it looks like it hurts, white blazer folder under her arm, thick enough to stop a bullet. She barely looks at us before declaring, "I'm chairwoman of the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association, and you two are trespassing on HOA property." I'm holding the family key in my hand, trying to explain, but she's already calling dispatch, muttering about armed suspects, waving around a decibel meter like she's the sheriff. I'm thinking, lady, are you for real? It'd be funny if it wasn't so insane. She even points at a new sign half hidden behind a tree. Private property, HOA. Only then flashes an official-looking deed with my dad's signature. The date, 3 months ago, except Dad's been gone for 13. I stare at it while sirens get closer, trying to wrap my brain around how a dead man could sign anything. Priscilla just stands there grinning like she's just pulled off the heist of the century, completely missing that her big win was about to set off the biggest domino effect of her life. Cops burst onto the scene, hands on their weapons, and Priscilla's already painting us as master criminals, accusing Elena of casing the place for weeks. One young officer couldn't be more than 22 orders us to keep our hands visible. Elena, cool as ever, explains in her hospital voice that I inherited this place from Judge Thorne, my dad. But Priscilla is busy whispering to the sergeant about dangerous suspects. The cops actually start to buy it, and I'm about to lose my mind when the cabin door creaks open and the smell of barbecue drifts out. A voice calls, "Officers, could you move? I'm trying to flip these steaks." Everyone stops, even Priscilla, because the man stepping out isn't some random squatter. It's Chief Justice William Montgomery, legend, in 3 states, wearing a barbecue apron, spatula in hand, looking like he's about to hold court on the porch. "There's been a misunderstanding," he says, and the officer snapped to attention so fast you'd think he just ordered the national anthem. Priscilla looks like she's seen a ghost. Turns out years ago she got booted from practicing law for faking estate documents. Guess whose court she was in when that happened? Montgomery remembers every detail in the way he says her name. You can tell he knows exactly who he's dealing with. The lead cop, Rodriguez, is trying to square Priscilla's paperwork with the judge's word, but the room's vibe has shifted completely. Montgomery asks for the deed, looks it over, and immediately spots problems. The notary stamps right, but the signature's all wrong. Elena steps up, shows her phone with signature comparisons. She'd snapped photos while Priscilla was putting on her show, and points out that my dad was right-handed, but this signature was made with the left. Priscilla, not missing a beat, whips out her phone and starts live streaming to her Facebook followers, crying harassment and official misconduct, angling for public sympathy. Montgomery just gives her this look, part amusement, part, You're digging your own grave, and calmly explains that live streaming an active investigation could be considered obstruction. Oh, and by the way, how did she get that fake deed signed by a dead man? The tension could cut glass. Priscilla's hands are shaking. Rodriguez is trying to keep things from spiraling, and then Montgomery drops the bomb. We need to look at all the HOA's property transfers. Something tells me this isn't the first sketchy deal. Priscilla's phone clatters to the porch as she fumbles, the live stream cuts out, and for a second all you hear is the lake and the wind. Montgomery then reveals he's not up here for barbecue. He got a security alert from my dad's system, felt obligated to check it himself as executor of the estate, and oh yeah, he's been reviewing all of Dad's property records for a federal task force. Turns out Dad was working with the FBI investigating a coordinated campaign targeting vulnerable property owners, especially the elderly, the widowed, anyone without legal backup. Montgomery pulls out his tablet showing high-def footage of Priscilla and her muscled Duncan Silverstone sneaking around our cabin at 2:30 in the morning, not once but on multiple nights. Elena, forensic brain in overdrive, points out how they're acting more like burglars than insurance assessors. Montgomery overlays a digital map, red dots everywhere. HOA's acquired property. Turns out it's a full-blown racket. Priscilla's getting paler by the second. Then comes the twist. Montgomery reveals my dad had reported the whole scheme to the FBI days before his heart attack, and as Elena mutters, "Oh my God, I realize this is so much bigger than a property dispute." Meanwhile, Priscilla tries one last gambit, dumping more documents on the porch, arguing everything was above board, even turning the live stream back on to paint herself as the lone woman fighting corrupt power. Comments and viewers are exploding, and for a second it looks like she's gaining the upper hand. But then from the tree line comes Dorothy Chen, 72, sharp as a tack, lived next door for 40 years, carrying a leather journal in a Ziploc bag. "Priscilla, dear," she says, "maybe your audience would like to hear about Tommy Fitzgerald." The color drains from Priscilla's face. Dorothy explains that Tommy, the HOA secretary who committed suicide, actually kept meticulous notes, meetings, threats, even talk of permanent solutions for owners who wouldn't sell. Then Dorothy shines a UV flashlight on the journal, revealing secret writing plate numbers, names, and worst of all, an audio confession from Duncan about how accidents happen to troublemakers. Priscilla tries to spin it, saying Tommy was disturbed, but Elena shuts her down, analyzing the writing and pointing out it's clear, detailed, not the work of someone hallucinating. The real knockout punch, Dorothy reveals Tommy had planned to deliver everything to the FBI the day after her death, and thermal footage from my dad's cameras shows two people entering her cabin hours after she died, covering their tracks. Elena reads the timeline, declares the official cause of death was staged. And just as Priscilla's looking around for an escape, a black SUV rolls in, Duncan Silverstone himself, flanked by two goons, ready to settle things. Montgomery, cool as ever, brings up the surveillance video playing audio of Duncan and Priscilla plotting the fake deed and talking about my inheritance. I start running through my own laptop feeds. Turns out after Dad died, I upgraded all the cameras, caught Duncan and Priscilla casing not just our cabin, but others too. The wildest twist of all. Just as Duncan is shouting about fake evidence and threatening lawsuits, Dorothy calls out, and Tommy Fitzgerald herself walks out from behind the cabins, alive, holding a USB packed with months of recordings. She faked her death to finish the investigation undercover, working with the FBI the whole time. Right then, a line of SUVs roll up, FBI agents pouring out, cuffing Duncan and Priscilla, shutting down the live stream. Justice, after so much chaos, finally shows up. 6 months later, that old porch looks a little different. We turned the cabin into a legal aid center for families fighting predatory HOAs. Judge Montgomery drops by every month to flip burgers and help folks reclaim stolen homes, and Dorothy's in charge of organizing the best barbecues in 3 counties. Priscilla and Duncan. Serving a combined 55 years after the trial, their operation blown open by Tommy's evidence and the digital paper trail I'd built off Dad's old security paranoia. And the governor who helped them grease the system, national headlines, arrested, disgraced, another domino falling. Sometimes I look around during those barbecues and wonder how much Dad would have loved seeing his cabin become the heart of something good. Kids laughing, people sharing stories, the whole place buzzing with second chances. Tommy's headed to Harvard on a scholarship. Montgomery's name is on new property protection laws, and even Elena's consulting for law enforcement. I went from a guy just wanting a quiet weekend to someone who helped take down the biggest property scam in state history, all because the right people refused to stay silent. And a judge's paranoia turned out to be a blessing. So ever felt powerless against the kind of bureaucratic bully who thinks the rules don't apply to them? You're not alone. But if this story says anything, it's that ordinary people, when they work together, keep records, and refuse to back down, can turn the tables on anyone. Justice might move slow, but when it hits, it's thorough. If you want more real stories about underdogs flipping the script on greed and corruption, drop your take in the comments. And tell me, who do you think really keeps a community safe? The loudest voice, or the people who never stop paying attention?